Well, the National Grid releases its winter outlook every year, and it sets out a series of demand and supply scenarios for both gas and electricity. And in this instance, there are quite a few headlines to deal with. The first is that in order to help manage demand, the National Grid has launched a framework scheme it's calling the Demand Flexibility Service, which would, in essence, pay consumers to reduce their consumption at peak times. So that's things like using your washing machine overnight, charging your electric vehicle in the middle of the day or perhaps overnight, anything to avoid those crunch times of morning and evening. This scheme would be run via electricity suppliers. It is voluntary and it will run from November through to March. And the reason the National Grid is so keen to ask consumers and businesses to reduce demand is because it is also saying, as part of its Winter Outlook report, that it is concerned in the very worst case scenario that supply might not be able to meet demand. And it outlines, we must stress this as a worst case scenario, a situation like this. It says in a very, very cold period of weather, which is also very still, which would of course reduce our capacity to generate wind power, when there was also problems importing electricity from European counterparts, and a significant gas shortage, which would reduce the ability of our gas-fired power stations to make electricity. At that point, there could be planned blackouts for British households. Now, in a statement, the spokesperson for the National Grid said, in the unlikely event we were in this situation, it would mean some customers could be without power for predefined periods during the day. Generally, this is assumed to be for 3-hour blocks, adding that the exact number of people left without electricity would depend on the extent of the gas shortages, because, of course, the UK gets 40% of its electricity from gas-fired power stations. Now, this will be a real blow to Liz Truss, who has been very reluctant to talk about individual behaviour change and has also promised there will be no rationing in the UK this winter. And government spokesperson said, in response to the release of these winter outlook reports, we are confident in our plans to protect households and businesses in the full range of scenarios this winter, in the light of Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. And that spokesperson also emphasised that Britain is not so dependent on Russian energy imports and, of course, has access to domestic supplies from the North Sea and, of course, renewable energy as well. But there is no doubt about it. This warning, in a very worst-case scenario of planned blackouts for British consumers, will be alarming to many.